These funds are heavily off.
All right, good morning, everyone. If you would stand and join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone. We'll get the July 5th Meeker County Board meeting underway here. We'll start with public comment period. And I don't see any public here right now. We'll move on to the July 5th board meeting agenda.
Mr. Chair, since we originally printed the agenda, we had two additions. One was the approval of a new air conditioning compressor for the Family Services Building. And then the second is a closed session to discuss potential litigation, both of which would be under my item on the agenda.
All right. Does anybody have any questions on that? If not, I'd look for a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Chair? I'll second that,
I got,
as amended.
I have a motion by Commissioner Schiefelbein, second by Commissioner Bredesen to approve the amended agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Consent agenda. Andrew, would you walk us through those items,
Be happy to.
please?
So we have approval of the June 13th Board of Appeal and Equalization meeting minutes. Approval of the June 20th Board of Commissioners meeting minutes. Approval of Social Services County and Hospital accounts payable. Approval of fiscal host agent agreement with Des Moines Valley Health and Human Services. Approval of agreement with Candiota County regarding the use of the household hazardous waste facility. An appointment of Maddie Baumgartner to the HRA board. An approval of agreement, that's it, that is the consent agenda. Just want to keep going.
Yeah.
All right, is there any questions on the items in the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, I had a question about approval of the fiscal host, and I visited with Paul, and he was going to give us just a little bit of information in reference to a couple of my questions. Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you for your questions. They're very valid, and it's a really kind of a unique situation. So before you is a fiscal host agreement for Des Moines Valleys to manage or operate and be the accounting entity for the funds for the Southwest 18 Mental Health Consortium. And Commissioner Bredesen's questions I felt would be good for you all to hear kind of an overview of what the Southwest 18 Mental Health Consortium is. It's a statutory-driven joint powers board. It doesn't have to be a joint powers board, but the Southwest 18 have decided for it to be a joint powers board. They have a budget of about $2 million, approximately. The intent of the Mental Health Consortium really derived when they were closing down the regional treatment centers. And their intent was to shift costs from the regional treatment centers to counties in a regional authority to develop a continuum or a matrix of support services for individuals that are suffering from mental health issues and concerns. So the Southwest 18 has been doing that. So there is dollars that are there that are used for funding underinsured individuals with Woodland Centers. In fact, they receive about $300,000-400,000 for underinsured individuals, and a couple of the other mental health centers throughout the region as well. They also develop some housing programs to be able to support individuals. Commissioner Bredesen's questions kind of led to, okay, is it better to receive some of those funds with at the county and then use those for our purposes? Well, yes, it would be nice. However, the way the structure is set up for the grant that the initiative receives from DHS is clearly earmarked for this type of organization to handle those funds. Part of the governance is that each county, 18 counties, tries to capture as many of those dollars as they can to use for initiatives within their community to ensure that there's a full breadth of support services available for their constituents. In a rural environment, some of the individual counties are very small, so we need to develop regional services just based on dollars and value and the numbers of individuals accessing those services. So part of that governance structure is they do have a board. I'm currently sitting on that board as a treasurer. We also have Tina Shank that's sitting on that board as one of our representatives as well. And so part of what we're trying to do is, again, ensure that there is a full continuum of supports available for individuals, also to access some of those dollars. We do receive flexible funding dollars that we use to support people, i.e. if a person is homeless because of their mental health issue, we may use those dollars to help rent a storage unit until they can become housed again. A number of different little things like that, a gas card if they need a psychosocial type visit, or picking up things that don't fit within those Medicaid funded service categories. They also support, as I said, our mental health centers by covering some of the underinsured individuals. So some of those dollars are where we're really trying to get back into play, pushing our mental health centers into having less underinsured, also using the strength of this body to speak to some of the primary care providers like the Blues, UCross, Prime West, who does really pretty good with this, ensuring that there's not a lot of folks that are underinsured. Really the volume of what we're seeing as numbers of folks that are underinsured is because they have a private health care plan that doesn't have it as a benefit set to purchase mental health services.
Do they write the grants? Or do we write the grants and it flows through who?
The Southwest 18 as a joint powers board does write the grant, and it's a 2-year grant cycle. So that's how that money flows. And then DHS pays out quarterly. And so, what we wanna do is ensure whatever money comes in goes out so that we can continue to receive those grant funds. Because if we have money sitting in a bank and DHS says, well, you don't need it, so we'll wait until you need it, and that can create some issues for us. This agreement really is because Des Moines Valley has been providing this fiscal host for quite some time now. Their county attorney had deemed it valuable for them to start having some protections of understanding what that relationship is via a contract. We did bring this forward, I think.
February.
February. And there were a couple of counties that had some issues with indemnification. So we went back to the fiscal host's attorney and they corrected those, and now all of the other counties are in agreement to move forward with this. This is a master agreement, so it's not going to be coming back to the board unless there's some significant changes or addendums. And it just provides them some protections. It's good, clear communication on who does what. It's a delegated authority to each county to ensure that these support services are available. So that's why they're saying, well, we want to make sure that each county is aware that this is something that we're doing on their behalf.
And do we address this every 2 years? Is this a 2-year?
No, this is a master.
This is,
Yep, so this is just gonna go in perpetuity until there's any significant changes or Des Moines Valley says I'm not gonna do this anymore, or there's changes in the funding or requirements.
very good. Thank you, Paul.
Was there, I was gonna ask some questions on it too. Is this an agreement that's relatively new? Or have you-
Yes, we're seeing this throughout the state where counties that are doing fiscal host support for these types of entities or for a group of counties to protect themselves by ensuring that there is a contractual agreement with specific language delineating roles and responsibilities. We do have one other agreement like this, and this is for our SNAP benefits. And it used to be handled by McLeod County, and now it's being handled with Sherburne County. So this is not unfamiliar territory for myself or for our county, at least in our little slice of the world. But it's starting to become more common best practice for these types of things to be cleaned up and pressed through contract.
I didn't recognize the Des Moines Valley Health, and that part, I was like, I haven't seen this one, so.
Yeah, there's a group of 3 counties that make up Des Moines Valley Health Services.
Okay.
Cottonwood, Jackson. 2.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sounds good. Any more
Does that
questions?
help answer your question?
Very good. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you for allowing me the time.
All right. Was there any other questions on the consent agenda? Hearing none. Did I get a motion on the consent agenda yet, or was it? We did not. I don't think so. All right. I looked for
I'll
one.
move the consent agenda.
I got a
Chair.
motion by Beth
I'll second that.
and a second by Commissioner Bredesen. Is there any further questions on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Kel? John,
Good morning.
good morning.
Michelle Johnson, Human Resources Coordinator. So before you today I'm seeking approval of the agreement with MedSurity for COBRA administration. So as of January 1st of this year with our Prime Health, the third-party administrator was acquired by United Healthcare, UMR, and the process for COBRA was not going well for that. We just found that they were not speaking to their own department all that well. There was just a lot of things that did not go smoothly, which then impacted employees that have left or retired from the county, and it just was not going well. And Prime Health recognized that, and they were very helpful in looking at different third-party administrators for our COBRA piece of that. So we looked into several different vendors for administering our COBRA, and ultimately MedSurity was identified as the right fit because of their experience with public health benefits administration. So we have started to use MedSurity, however, there is an agreement that needs to be completed yet with them. We've started to use it for just our Prime Health groups, but then I would also be looking at starting to use it for the ancillary benefits for the PEEP members as well, as that would save a lot of time and make sure that we're really in compliance with that paperwork. So that would be an additional cost of $430, which I have included in my budget for '24. So currently, the insurance amounts that are listed have gone to $2 million. MCIT recommends $2 million per wrongful act or occurrence and $4 million in aggregate. So right now it's still $2 million and aggregate of $2 million. So there isn't that $4 million that MCIT recommends. So in the past, we brought these things forward to you when the insurance isn't quite what MCIT is recommending. For this kind of service and the liabilities with this, we're comfortable with moving forward with the agreement at this time. They said that they would be willing to continue to look at that and reconsider that amount.
All right. Is there any questions for Mikkel on the MedSurity COBRA agreement? Hearing none, I would look for a motion to approve.
Move to approve an agreement with MedSurity for continuation and retiree billing services, Mr. Chair.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Bredesen,
Second.
second by Commissioner Johnson. Is there any further discussion on MedSurity? I don't have anything. Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mikkel. Andrew Lutson.
All right, so first and foremost, first off, Corey, are you logged into the virtual meeting? Because I just hadn't seen anyone else come up, that's why I was curious. All right, so we have a request from Gene Fisher to install a memorial tree at the Family Services Center Jean's husband, Rick, was very involved with the community theater at the Bernie Acker Auditorium, building sets for about 10 years, and passed away last year. So his family was looking for a way to recognize his involvement in the community, and they submitted this request to us. They identified a potential location. I met with Jean and Joel, our facilities manager, out on the field, or out at this site to try and find a good spot. This, if you're looking at the building from Holcomb Avenue, this is the side of the building near the Veteran Service Office. There's a grassy space here by this planter bed that we identified as being a good spot. There's nothing in the ground right there. There's no other trees they would conflict with. The proposed tree would be an oak. Would include a stone with a plaque, and this is something that we have done in our parks, typically with benches rather than with trees. I spoke with Jean about that. She was interested in doing a tree rather than a bench, and typically what we've done is our process is when it goes into a park board reviews it, reviews the application, reviews the location, and then we'll decide to approve it or not approve it. This is the first time that I was able to identify that we've done this at one of our buildings, and so that's why I'm bringing it forward to you for consideration. So with that, I'm available for any questions.
Any questions on the tree, the oak?
Joel was in on the process, and
Yes.
he's okay with this because I think about maintenance, mowing around it,
Yes.
watering it.
Yeah.
You know, that's different from a bench.
It is.
Bench doesn't require maintenance, but.
It is. And the main concern that I expressed to Ms. Fisher was at a certain point, trees die. They're living things, and what happens at that point. And so they understand that and still want to pursue this as an option. So.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve a request to plant a memorial tree at the Family Services Center.
Motion by Commissioner Oberg,
I'll second that.
a second by Commissioner Bredesen. Any further discussion on the memorial tree at Family Services Center? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay.
Andrew?
Next item I have for you is approval of 2 agreements with Wold Architects regarding our facility remodel project. The first of which is for design work related to Woodland Center's remodel. We've been working with Woodland Centers to update our lease with them. We've been doing that for the past couple of years, and as we've been going through that process, they identified some space needs within their area. And as we've previously discussed, there was desire to do that work in conjunction with our project. It saves them money, and it provides us with benefit as well in the fact that we're not having multiple contractors coming through this space. What the plan would be is that the county would take the lead on the work, do it through our contracts, and then Woodland Centers will reimburse the county with interest over a 7-year period as part of our lease agreement. The lease agreement is proposed as for 10 years, and then this agreement, so this will be paid off prior to that. It'll be done as part of that lease. The final amount will be based on the actual costs. Wold has been working with Woodland to finalize that design and is proposing a fee of $22,000 for this work. The second agreement is for the furniture design. As we've talked about in the past, there's a significant desire for us to reuse a lot of our existing furniture, but as we reconfigure the spaces, as we set up new cubicles, things like this, there's a lot of work that goes into that that's beyond really our own capacity. It's fairly simple when you're taking a desk from one office to the next, but what happens when you're trying to take cubicle space and reconfigure it, and then also try and make it match and look like it was a well thought out plan and something that wasn't just thrown together based on what we have. We've identified that a lot of the equipment that we have could be reused as long as it fits in the new space. So we've identified through the project's budget cost for furniture, and included with that was a cost for consulting services. Wold's provide us with a proposal for $65,000 to do that work. If they were to charge us based on the cost of all new all new furniture, that amount would be $73,000, but there's going to be savings there because we're not purchasing everything new. So with that, I'm available for any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Andrew on the Woodland Centers proposal.
And we have in writing now a 10-year contract. With-
We're finalizing the lease with them, but we've been having really good conversations with them about it, and we have in writing their commitment to pursue that.
And I think it came before the Woodland Board months ago, Danny, when we talked about redoing the contract, so. It's good to get to the end of it.
On the furnishing consulting, is there other organizations out there that do this too, or do we know this is a good bid in terms of price?
Yeah, we do know that it's a good proposal. I talked with some other counties, so I feel confident with that. There are other companies out there that do it. As we've been working through this, though, I think that there's benefit for us to have a company who already has intimate knowledge with our design and what it is that we're looking for. So that's the reason that we're just bringing forward.
And these were in our soft costs.
Yep.
Okay.
They were.
Yes.
I must tell you, when I read this, I was like, really?
I know, I did the
I
same.
guess I didn't realize, I mean, it's fine, but build a house. Your wife tells you put the couch here, no, it didn't work there, move it there, right? I mean, just saying, so. But I get it.
To the tune of $65,000.
All right.
Any further discussion? Woodland Center
Say it.
project.
Like, there's things you learn every day.
Yeah.
But we do want the furniture to look
Match,
like it's.
we'd like to have matching furniture.
No, I know, no.
It's a little more complicated than a couch.
I know, I'm just saying,
I hear
that's
you.
kind of what came to mind, I'm like.
I was
oh.
just glad it was in the soft cost, to be honest.
Okay.
That's what I was happy
Yeah.
about. At least it was there, so it's not a new
It
expense.
wasn't a
'cause
new expense.
I do see a lot of advantage of having someone actually go through there and make sure that you are utilizing
I
everything
agree
you
with
can.
that too.
Otherwise, you could add
And
up
and
real
you're in
quick.
on that, right? I
Oh, yeah.
mean, you go in.
Where I see most of the new purchase occurring is in where we have some larger meeting spaces, new conference rooms, things like that, where we may
Rolling
not have
tables
equipment.
and different things like
Exactly.
that we're
Exactly.
behind the times on, that I see when I go to other meetings. So they can be utilized. Mr. Chair, I move to approve agreements with Wold Architects and Engineers for design of the Woodland Center space remodel and furniture consulting services.
I have a motion by Commissioner Olberg,
I'll second that.
and I have a second by Commissioner Johnson. Is there any further discussion on Woodland Centers and the Wold project? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next item is the Climate Makers compressor replacement, correct?
Yes. So as I had communicated with the board, we had a compressor in one of our air handlers, or I'm sorry, one of our air conditioning units at the Family Services Center go out. We've been working with vendors to try and get a good price for that. We evaluated just replacing the compressor versus replacing the entire unit. It was a unit that we had scheduled on a replacement for within the next 3 years. But talking with the Climate Makers, they indicated that this is the major issue that could go wrong with it. There's other minor stuff that could occur, but this is really the biggest big ticket item. So they recommended that if we were to replace the compressor, that it could work well for us for probably at least another 10 years. So with that, we're recommending that we go forward with a proposal from Climate Makers for $16,900 to replace it. We've also filed a claim with MCIT, and so we'll be looking to see what, if anything, we can get reimbursed on it.
Do you try to claim it under lightning strikes, or what do you?
We have a mechanical failure policy,
Okay.
which is the same policy that we used for the generator earlier this year, last year. Time eludes me.
So this was not something that was gonna be replaced in the remodel or anything?
No. We have no major mechanical replacements at Family
Nothing over
Services
there.
as part of the remodel. Yep. Only thing over there is minor ductwork adjustments for walls that are moving, so.
So that just kind of made me wonder, being this is happening, have we looked at everything over there when we're remodeling to make sure, or is that something we cut? or-
We have, primarily where we've had the biggest mechanical issues here at this building, where, the equipment is just beyond its useful life.
Okay.
The equipment over there is at the end of its useful life, and so we have it in our CIP to replace it. We're replacing one unit this year. We have another one scheduled for next year and one the following.
Okay, thank you.
And I talked to Joel the other day, ran into him, outside of work, and he was just making the point too, that now this one will rotate, cause it was scheduled to be replaced. This will rotate to the far end of this will extend this one's life and we'll replace a different unit
Yep, exactly.
in time, so.
The only question I have is, was this an apples to apples, cause $6,000 just seemed like a lot. Spread.
Yes, so Joel worked with both companies on this to ensure that they were talking about the same thing. We've had a really good working relationship with Climate Makers over the years, and they've done a lot to work with us and try and help us save money.
Okay.
I also see that if the refrigerant tests clear, we can
Yeah, we can reuse
utilize some
refrigerant.
savings there as well.
Exactly.
All right. Any further questions? I would look for a motion on the compressor unit.
Mr. Chair, move to approve Climate Maker's quote for replacement air compressor for the amount of $16,900.
I have a motion by Commissioner Schiefelbein
I'll second that.
and a second by Commissioner Bredesen. Is there any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Then we're going to go into closed session.
Yeah, we can, or we could
I thought
do
we
my
were gonna
report
do-
first
it
and
says
then do the
administrative.
closed
Oh,
session.
I'm
so
sorry.
It's up to you.
Go ahead.
All
Go
right.
ahead. Yeah. Sorry, I jumped again.
I 2 weeks ago, over at the Cronus campground, we had a fire at the caretaker's house. The fire started in the kitchen, and it was a grease fire that caused some significant smoke damage. Fortunately, there were no injuries. Our parks manager Braden has been working with MCIT to process the claim and get the damage repaired. The managers are still providing coverage at the campground to ensure we're in compliance with state regulations, but the house is not habitable at this time. So, just a brief update or FYI on that, and we'll provide more information when it becomes available as far as timelines and things like that. Lastly, we met last week with Solid Waste Committee, Paul and Steve, to talk about next steps now that we have again not received any bids for the landfill property. So we are looking at a couple of different options, and we anticipate providing the board with those options at our July work session. So just an FYI, something to think about as we come to that. We're looking at option of the county taking everything in and running it all in-house, or contracting everything out. We're kind of in this half in, half out place where we run the demo hill, the landfill portion of it, and we contract out the transfer station and the trucking. We're looking at what would it be if we contracted everything versus what would it be if we brought everything in, so.
So I'm sure we'll talk about this, but is there interest in leasing out the whole thing? Or
We-
can we turn a profit by doing it ourselves and find the help to do it and running it right?
Those are both very good questions.
But you
The
can
answer to your first one is we received interest in leasing out everything when we were going through the sale process, and so we believe there would be interest there. Now, we also received interest in purchasing the property before we actually put it out to bid. So you go through that process and you see what you get, right? Otherwise, could we turn a profit and do it well on our own? I think that we could, but it comes down to being able to staff it and staffing it with the right people. So
Who do you look to for information when you're, do you talk to Candy Ojai?
yeah, Greg has talked with other counties. We also had, the one company who had expressed interest in leasing it. We were gonna sit down and have a conversation with them about what does it look like when they do this, so we have a sense of what that is to craft our RFP, so that we're not just doing it blind.
Okay, good. Thank you.
That concludes my report.
That's it? All right. Now we can go to closed session?
We certainly can.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Minnesota statute 13D.05 subdivision 3B, attorney-client privilege to discuss.
I have a motion by Commissioner Johnson.
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Bredesen. Any further discussion? Hearing none?
Good morning, all commissioners. Brandy Schiefbein here. Just wanted to make a reminder that the only thing we'll be discussing at this meeting for the closed session will be the agenda item for the attorney-client privileged discussion.
All right, all in favor, please say aye to go into closed session.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
All right, let me pause everything.